Some more essential tools for pain management. Thank you so much, Becky. Okay, I'm going to see if this pack is on, so let's see. We'll go this one first, and then this one. There we go.
Okay.
Good deal.
Okay, so I did not explain the formula very well. So what Dr. Rady says is that we want to get our heart rate up to 60 to 80%. And how you find that is, say you're 60. And you take 220 minus your age, which would be 160. And then you times that by 0.60. So does somebody have a calculator or a really good brain? What is that?
At 73, it was
81, John said.
81. Okay, so 81 is your low, and if you're 60, 81 is your low number. And now times it times 0.80. 220 minus your age. So if you're 60 years old, that would be 160.
You should already know my age.
Okay, so you...
Yeah, 160 times 0.6 is 96.
96, okay, what is it for? 128. Okay, so you want to keep your heart rate somewhere between whatever that one was, 96 and 128. So basically what that means is it does change as your age changes. I have a resting heart rate of like 60 or 65 or something like that. I'm in a lot better shape than I look. Somehow I can out-eat 50 miles of hiking in 1 week. I don't know how that happens, but anyway. So I'm not able to get my heart rate up enough so that I can talk but don't want to on a flat. I think I said that already. And so for me, if I'm on a treadmill, I have it like up like this. If I'm home, then I'm hiking the M or hiking Drinking Horse or hiking all my little favorite places there. And I usually try to get in an hour a day. Not when I'm on a treadmill. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. But when I'm hiking, I can hike all day. But so that, I just wanted to explain that just a little better. So you want to try to keep your heart rate in somewhere in that range.
I did it wrong or something, because mine keeps coming up like 118. Am I doing it wrong?
I'll help you on it when we're done. So I want to talk a little bit about sleep. I do want to say that most people, when they start working with us, are not sleeping at night. It is really hard to sleep through pain. And I have no judgment for anybody who struggles with sleeping through pain, but I will tell you that I sleep every night. Not every night, okay. So sometimes I have a rough night. Rough nights for me are when I'm in a hotel somewhere and I have a 6 o'clock flight the next morning and I'm worried about the alarm clock going off and I'm all keyed up from whatever thing I was doing. And so I do have a few of those kind of nights, but it's not because of the pain anymore. So I want to give you guys some tips. So does anybody here like to go camping? Okay, so how do you sleep when you're camping? Okay, I'm not talking about rocks underneath your mats or whatever, but on a general, how do you sleep when you sleep good? Yeah.
Actually, it's way more uncomfortable, but you sleep like 3 times better.
Okay, how come?
I think the great air, the exercise, just relax.
Okay. Air mattress. Okay, so there's something really magical about camping, and there's something that we do different in our ordinary lives that are affecting how we sleep. Any ideas? No, not dreaming. What's different when we're camping? What are we missing when we're camping? Electronics, artificial light. So when we're camping, unless we're camping where there's cell service, and I suppose some of you might do that. We don't in Montana, but we barely have it in town. But what happens when we go to camping is it starts getting dark, and we have a nice little supper, and then we make a campfire, and we sit around the campfire, and we relax, and then we go into the tent or camper, and we sleep so good. And we've been active, and we have allowed our brain to make sleep hormones. Do you know that it takes your brain 2 to 3 hours to make the sleep hormones needed to go to sleep? And what do? We have all of our lights on, we're on our iPad, we have the TV on, and we're go, go, go. There's no relaxing, we're not sitting around doing anything, we're just going, and then we turn off the lights and get in bed, and we expect that our body's going to just go to sleep. How is that working? Not very well. Okay, so as the sun goes down, our brain, like when we're out camping, our brain starts making melatonin and the other sleep hormones that happen when it's starting to get dark. So I have tried to imitate that somewhat in my house by dimming things down, by making myself a cutoff time for my cell phone and my iPad and my TV. Those all have blue light, which some scientists say is like caffeine for the brain. So when we keep our TV on, when we are using our phone clear until we set it down, and we're exhausted when we get in bed, so how come we're not sleeping? Well, our brain, there's a process to going to sleep, and we're all so busy, and we expect that because we're all so busy, we're just going to lay in bed and go to sleep. So with pain aside, that is something that if there's one thing that we can change, if we're not sleeping good at night, that is a really good place to start, is just start dimming things down and relaxing and sitting and calming yourself. Maybe read a boring book. You know, you wouldn't want to start some new thriller or something, but, you know, just read something that's calming. Poetry, yes. So what you want to have when you get ready for bed is you want to have a quiet mind and a quiet body. So first we're going to talk about quiet mind, which we just did, relaxing ritual. So do any of you have a nice relaxing ritual that you do at bedtime? Yeah? Lazy boy chair, okay. So you just start calming things down and relaxing.
Warm shower.
What? A warm shower, okay. Some people have things they like to read.
I read.
You read, yeah. Crocheting, yeah, that's a nice thing. It's just sit down and relaxing. But for some people, it's relaxing. Others of us, it would be. Oh yeah, there's a crocheter right there. So any other ideas for a relaxing? Anybody? Candle? Cat in the lap. Oh, cat in the lap. Yes, dog in the lap. Okay.
And then we go into the bedroom, because she's got a bed, and now I'm reading a book that I've read 3 times. But I have, the lights are low.
I don't like them.
Okay.
And then, it does start burning.
And you start feeling relaxed. Some people like essential oils. The lavender, I think, is known to be calming. Some people like to take a nice warm bath. Epsom salts. Some people have hot tubs. Planned worry. Does anybody know what I mean by that? Planned worry. So some of us get in bed and we're worrying about everything on the planet. And, we haven't had time to think about it, but then you lay down in bed and you think, oh man, I should have done this, and I needed to call so-and-so, and oh, I got to take care of that, and oh man, I forgot this. And so having a notepad by your bed, and you can write the things that you plan to worry about tomorrow, and you can put them in a drawer and shut it. And then that is what is called planned worry. So we're gonna just kind of take it out of our hard drive for now, and we're gonna put it somewhere else, and we're gonna think about it another time. And because it's written down, that causes you to, let's relax a little bit, and we'll have to think about this tomorrow, because can't solve all the problems of the world in one day. So making your bedroom a relaxing place, so maybe a big pile of bills on your dresser, that might cause a little bit of anxiety. Piles of laundry that get put on the bed. That's my husband's pet peeve, to come to bed and be all ready to relax. And, there's the laundry on the bed again. So, trying to make your room this place where you're gonna just relax and read and have everything you need in there to make it a relaxing place. Any ideas on that? Music. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And so just having it a place that's comfortable and clean, and maybe keep the bills somewhere else. Consistent sleep schedule. This one's really hard for those of us with chronic pain. It's really hard to tell, if you haven't been sleeping the night before, if you're going to be up half of the night and then you're sleeping till noon. I can't tell you how many of our clients, we try to make an appointment with them and they're sleeping till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And that is because they're not sleeping at night. So it's like, do any of you remember when if any of you had babies that had the night and the day all mixed up, and you had to make that, so painful, a couple of days, that switch where you just force them to stay awake and you try to get things flipped. And that's what, as adults, we have to do sometimes too. Because really the bottom line is that things happen during the day. And, there's people you could be seeing, there's things that you could be doing during the day. And if you're sleeping all day, you miss all of that. You miss time with your family. Maybe your grandkids would come over if you weren't sleeping till noon, or whatever it is. You're missing things during the day. So finding that place where, okay, I would like to get up at 8 o'clock and go to bed at 10 o'clock. And so just making that really consistent. And one way to do that is to regulate naps. It's really hard when you haven't been sleeping at night to not take naps. And I don't think there's anything wrong with naps. I actually had one between lunch and the first meeting, and I almost every afternoon have a nap. But it's about 10 minutes long, and for some reason I can go to sleep, and I wake up, and I automatically wake up. My kids think it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. I'll say, I'm going to go take a nap, and I'll come back out in about 10, 15 minutes. They're like, I thought you said you were going to take a nap. Like, I did. But if you're having trouble sleeping at night, either giving yourself a timer for really short naps or just cutting out the naps until you get things regulated.
Can't do it. Can't.
Oh, you can't, yeah. Well, a lot of people have already figured that out. They can't. So this is all part of the quiet mind, quiet body. I'm going to meddle now, okay? So caffeine can cause a disruption in your sleep. It can stay in your system for 8 to 14 hours, both in how much sleep you get, and the quality of your sleep. Side effects of caffeine include anxiety, depression, and sleep disturbance. Okay, so I'm just stating the facts here. If you're having trouble with sleep, you might want to cut caffeine out. If you're having trouble with anxiety or depression, you might want to try cutting caffeine out. A lot of people find that when they cut out the caffeine, their depression goes away, their anxiety goes away. I regularly have clients that when we start talking about sleep, and they'll say, I'm just not sleeping at night, and I'll ask about the caffeine intake, and it's sometimes as many as 3 pots of coffee, but they're not sleeping at night. And so, but I'm having it in the morning, I don't have any after 1, or whatever it is. Just remembering that it does affect things for quite some time. And so if there's trouble with sleep, that is a good place to start. Alcohol, a lot of people use alcohol for relaxation. And so lots of clients, they'll have a glass of wine right before they go to bed, and they say that relaxes me, that helps me sleep. And it might initially help the sleep, but then it causes the early morning awakening. And so a lot of people have found that when they cut out that wine right before bed, or beer, or whatever it is, that they are able to sleep all night long. Same with nicotine. It's a stimulant, and it is known to cause nighttime and early morning awakenings. And I know for me, that was the most frustrating thing. I could get to sleep fine because I had this very large handful of pills. But then I'd wake up about 2 o'clock in the morning and couldn't go back to sleep, and that's very frustrating. Eating before bed. So the goal is to have a quiet body, and eating revs up your metabolism. The same for drinking something cold or drinking something hot. When you drink a cold glass of water, your metabolism has to start up, warm it up. And, I know these are sounding like extreme measures here, but if you're having trouble sleeping at night, you might want to just try it. If you're drinking a big glass of cold water right before you go to bed and you're having trouble going to sleep, then, maybe think of drinking something a little bit more lukewarm. Doesn't sound very good, but if you're taking, a lot of people have to take pills before they go to bed. So if you're taking them with hot water, your body has to cool that down. If you're taking it with cold, then it has to warm it up. So just the whole quiet mind, quiet body. A sleepy person's brain works harder and accomplishes less, and I think we all know that. You guys are going to watch that in action as we continue here. I do my best, but it is really important if you're trying to use your brain to manage your pain. It's important to have the sleep that you need, and sleeping really is very, very difficult thing. You will sleep more deeply if you exercise regularly. You don't have to be a star athlete to reap the benefits. You need as little as 20 to 30 minutes of daily activity. And you don't need all 30 minutes in one session. You can break it up 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, still get the benefits. A brisk walk, a bicycle ride, or even gardening or housework. The bottom line is for me, and I'm just speaking for me, not for anybody's wife or anything else, but if I don't exercise during the day, I have a really hard time sleeping at night. And so for me, they're very connected, especially when I first started this journey. I was not sleeping at night. But one thing I noticed was that as I started exercising during the day, my night times were way, way better. Functional imaging of the brain during sleep shows brain activation patterns for a newly acquired skill that suggests there is reorganization of neuronal networks while we sleep. This supports the idea that learning is reinforced and strengthened while we slumber, and that dreaming about a task or a problem will help us solve it. Well, we can't really make a decision on what we're going to dream about, but one thing that we know is that sleep is really, really important to our brain. Okay, so before we go on to the last tool, is there any thoughts on sleep, any questions on sleeping through chronic pain? Yeah.
Something that my wife and I just commented on during the springtime. What is there always that men have that a lot of men go out and do? Women do it too. A lot of men are always going out and running yard work. And I've been anxious. This extra long wet season could have really thrown my anxiety up. I'm going, I can't go out and do anything because it's too wet. You want to go out and plant the garden. It's really wet. You want to mow the yard. No, I had other things going on. But I noticed that when I get out and do the yard work, that changes how I sleep, how I feel about myself, what I'm thinking.
So it's really affecting you. Your exercise is really affecting all of those things.
I didn't know that.
That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Any other thoughts on sleep? One thing that I want to say is I'll just give you a little glimpse into how I first started sleeping through nerve pain from the neck down. So, one thing that I have discovered is, I have pain neck down. So if I'm going to focus on what's healthy and what's whole and what's good and what's right, I have to focus on neck up. And that's my little area. The headache days are not very fun, but that's my place where things are good and healthy and whole and right. And so sleeping through chronic pain, when I first started, I had a whole routine I would go through, and I'm gonna end with the first thing that I start with when I'm ready to go to sleep. But several things that I like to do before I go to sleep, or while I'm trying to go to sleep, is I like to meditate on the 23rd Psalm. And it's memorized, it's in my brain forever, and so it's really easy for me, but it's really visual too. I love He leads me beside still waters, He restores my soul, and it just calms me. Because I've been doing it over and over again, it just, all I have to do is say, the Lord is my shepherd and I'm about to sleep. But it is focusing on something that is neck up. And on days when I'm really struggling, sometimes I will just pay attention to the sensation of my tongue on my teeth. So our brain does one thing at a time, and for me, that one thing is, when I'm trying to go to sleep, is trying not to think about what's happening here down. Because it's pretty noisy. By the time, when I get in bed, it's pretty noisy. So the next thing we're going to talk about is diaphragmatic breathing. Do we have any singers in the room, or anybody who knows how to do this? Okay, we have a couple of people that have learned this in their lifetime. So, breathing is something that we all will just think, well, yeah, we all breathe. What's the big deal? And sometimes we don't like to talk about breathing, because breathing is, something they do when you go to yoga and anyway. So, maybe we've kind of edged away from it. But what happens when we have pain is, or anxiety, or any other kind of negative thinking pattern, is most of the time we breathe short and shallow from the chest. And when we breathe short and shallow from the chest, we're telling our brain that we are being chased by a tiger. We're in fight or flight when we breathe from here. When we breathe from here, we're telling our brain everything is okay. And I want to just tell you guys, this is my best tool. This is the tool that gets me through airplane rides that are 9 hours, and car trips, and driving with 16-year-olds, and all the rest of that is breathing from the diaphragm. I can bring my pain from an 8 to a 4 with a few breaths from my diaphragm. So when you guys might be able to tell, see, I just paid attention. So notice where my shoulders are right now. See, this is what happens to me all day long. So my shoulders are kind of up by my ears. I have pain. I haven't been paying attention. So I've kind of gotten tight and tense. And then I pay attention and I say, okay, I'm gonna calm things down. I'm probably breathing from up here. So I'm going to breathe from my diaphragm. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this. If you can put one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach. And you want your belly to go out like a balloon. You don't want your chest to come up and down. You want your belly to go in and out. It's how babies breathe. It's how we breathe when we're sleeping. And when we breathe, you can just keep breathing, but don't fall asleep. We're almost done. When we breathe from there, it brings increased oxygen into the lungs. It decreases muscle tension. It regulates body metabolism. It eases and reverses the biochemical effects of shallow breathing, and that is triggering your sympathetic nervous system. and it strengthens the diaphragm for increased efficiency. So I want to just tell you that I learned this at the pain clinic. I didn't get it the first time. I couldn't do it the first time. It took me 6 months of practice to get it where I have it now, where I'm really able to relax and really breathe from my diaphragm. It's not something that I did all at once. But breathing from the diaphragm gives us all kinds of different, I have that tool with me everywhere I go. It's free. Nobody knows I'm doing it. It is just something that I can do many, many times a day. Just pay attention. Where are my shoulders? Where is my tension? I can't close my eyes because I'll fall over. Let me just see where the tense areas are and relax those areas and just take some nice deep breaths. So what do you guys think after trying it? Does anybody use it already? Oh, lots of people already.
You know, I've read somewhere, if don't count sheeps, count to 10 by breathing through your diaphragm. Usually you won't get to 10, you'll be asleep.
Don't count sheep, count your breaths.
Breathe through your diaphragm.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. I hadn't heard that one before. So any thoughts on this, on breathing, or any questions?
I have a sister who has what they call failed back syndrome,
Yeah,
several surgeries, constant pain.
yeah.
Shakes all the time because she's in so much pain. She smokes, she drinks coffee, she can't sleep.
Well, then she's hopeless.
No,
I'm just
not
trying to think,
hopeless.
How am I ever going
Okay, so she has a sister that has failed back syndrome. She's had surgeries. She smokes. She
pain pills?
takes pain pills. She doesn't sleep. So I will tell you that all the studies show that that smoking increases pain. And so I know we have a smoking cessation component to our program because most people notice when they get all of that out of their system that they're able to sleep and their pain goes down, and that's what all the studies show. There are now a lot of doctors that will not do surgery until you've stopped smoking. So some people very temporarily stop smoking, but your body doesn't heal as well when you are. So it's a tough one though.
Yeah, it is, because she believes that the smoking helps with the pain.
Oh.
And I think it's just an excuse to smoke.
Yeah, well, it's a hard habit to break.
It is.
So I have a few more minutes left here, and I wanted to leave time for questions and answers. I know that each one of you have different things that, as I've been speaking, maybe it's triggered some questions, and I'm real happy to answer them if anybody has any questions. Yeah. You're supposed to. So you have a hard time sleeping the 8 hours? Yeah, I don't know. It's just, for some people, they just seem to need less sleep. I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one, and I know you're active during the day. Yeah.
As you get older, they have said that your amount of sleep that you need is not necessarily as much as you did when you were younger, because you're not having all the growth.
Oh.
The growth
So-
in the bones, the bodies, and the muscles. So an older person can get away with 6. They can, I think, down to 4.
Ooh.
4 is a low end.
So as you age, you don't need as much sleep as what some of the studies have shown. 'Cause you- more often. Siestas are good. Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
Maybe you already talked about this, but I'm curious, what is the name of your program and how do you get clients? And
It's called Take Courage Coaching, and we we get referrals from doctors all over the U.S., and we work with, we've had 2 VA contracts and in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and I've just been having conversation with the Appropriations Committee for Veterans Affairs in Congress a couple weeks ago, and hoping to be able to really bring this to a larger group of veterans, because we've had really great success with working with them. And I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to, we kind of have this backwards, upside down thing that we do with pain now, where we start with shots and blocks and surgeries and pills, instead of starting at a place where it's more whole body, and maybe we might end up needing a surgery, but starting with the simple things first. And they sound really simple, but if one of them is out of whack, then the pain is up. If we're not getting sleep at night, we're going to have pain. If we're eating Twinkies and drinking Mountain Dew, and that's our whole diet, we're going to really have trouble with all kinds of things. And and if we have a lot of fear and a lot of negativity, and if our whole life is centered around our pain, and if we don't have any relationship with family, and if we're not laughing, and if we're not exercising, it's just, it all fits together. And so try these simple things first, and then if they don't work, then we'll go and we'll see if we need something more. But we're kind of backwards right now. And I am not the only one who feels this way. We are small but a mighty group, and I want to just say I've not done this by myself. I came up with the idea, and I've been the person pulling the train uphill, but I've had a wonderful group of people. I have had my neurosurgeon and psychologists and nurses and social workers and lawyers and all kinds of people that have just said, I love what you're doing, and I want to help. And so we've developed this together, and now we're at the place where we have this peer-reviewed study, and we're ready for the next step of making the standard of care. That's my goal. So, where people have the support they need to make the lifestyle changes that they need to make to take pain out of the driver's seat. And we see a huge amount of them that are able to get off their opioids. And by the way, I don't have judgment around medication. Some people need medication. I'm not an anti, everybody has to do it the same way. For me, it didn't work at all. But for most people, while they're living, they want to live. And once they're, terminally ill, then that's a really good time for them to start taking some of the medicines that we give people when they're living. But anyway, that's a really long answer to your very simple question, but I can give you some information. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm wondering if there are any foods that we might be eating that could, work to make us more receptive to pain, or some that could make us less receptive to pain.
Well, we talk about inflammation and meta-inflammation. Those are a couple of things that we talk to people about, just eating as healthy and whole foods as you can. And, I think sometimes when we have pain, all the things that we know about nutrition and sleep and exercise and everything kind of go out the window, because we don't feel like cooking healthy, and we don't feel like exercising, and we're not sleeping at night. It just gets to be a big jumbled mess. But I do, I feel like it's really important. I know for me, I have to make sure, I have neuropathic issues with my digestion. So for me, it's really important for me to keep healthy food going in, and making sure I'm getting enough water and getting enough rest. And I want to tell you guys that one of my first clients, when I was trialing this out on the mini guinea pigs that I tried it out on, but he was this wonderful guy. He's a pastor in New York, and when he started with me, his sister is a nurse in Great Falls, Montana, which is where we were living at the time, and she recommended that he call me. So he calls me and he says, you know, I don't think you can do anything with me. I have this shoulder pain, and they can't figure out whether it's neurological or muscular, and I'm on all these meds, and I think my congregation's probably getting ready to fire me. I'm only working about 60%. My wife is sick of it. She said, I didn't marry you like this, and this is not what I had in mind, and I'm sick of it. And he said, every time I kiss the kids goodnight, they cry, and they say, Daddy, how come God won't heal you? And he just said, my life is just a shamble, and I don't know how you're going to help, but I'm going to give it a try, because what do I have to lose? So he starts working with me, and, you know, there were several different things that right away, you know, sleep. He wasn't sleeping at night. So the first thing he decided to cut out was he was drinking the glass of wine every night, so he cut that out, and he started sleeping. And it wasn't 8 hours, but he started sleeping better. And then he added in exercise, and then he started sleeping even better. And then he was paying attention to his thought processes, and he noticed that he was negative pretty much from the moment he got up in the morning till the time he went to bed at night. And man, how did my wife live with me? And, you know, so he started changing out some of his thought patterns, the negative ones, paying attention where he was negative. And the fear started going, you know, his fear avoidance, and, you know, he's moving and he's thinking positive, and he gets through the whole year. He gets off all of his meds. His pain-related costs the year that we started with him were over $200,000, because he'd had surgery, he'd had ablations, he had pills, he was looking for a cure. And the year after, I think we worked with him in 2009. From 2010 until now, his pain-related costs are zero. He's not on any meds. He called me several months ago, and he said, I got to tell you the neatest story. He said, I just got back from an anniversary trip with my wife. We went to South America, and he said, we were there for 3 weeks. I would have never been able to do that trip before. We had a fabulous time. And he said, on our way home, we got a phone call that while we were gone, our house burned to the ground. And he said, I have been going from church member to church member. You know, different people were housing them, hotel to hotel, and he just said, I just wanted you to know that in the happy stress and in the sad stress, I haven't taken any meds. I've been fine with my pain. My life is just completely turned around. I was able to make it through both the happy and the difficult. And, you know, that's what we're trying to do, is give people the tools that they need to, whether the experience is happy or whether it's sad, whether it's just a humdrum day, that they have the tools they need to manage their pain in a good, healthy way. So on that note, I don't have anything more. I mean, I could sit here and fire hose you guys for 3 more days, but I think 2 hours for people with chronic pain is probably long enough. But I really appreciate all your questions, and I hope I've given you just a little glimmer and a glimpse of hope that life with chronic pain can still be good. I do want to say one more thing, and that is, remember that trip that I told you about from Montana to California where I was laying in the grass and crying? Well, my husband flew me home from that trip because, you know, they weren't going to do that again. They figured out a one-way ticket from California to Montana for me, but I just want to say that I go on trips now all the time. My life is one big trip right now. And, you know, the bumps in the road, they still cause fresh burning. I still have a lot of issues when I travel, but I have a whole bunch of tools that I use, whether I'm in an airplane or whether I am in a car, wherever it is. You know, I have my whole list of tools. I have I do diaphragmatic breathing. I'm real careful of that if I'm the one driving, because I don't want to fall asleep, because that's never a good idea. But I have nice music that I like. I have audiobooks that I listen to. When I'm flying in a plane, I have just things I'm doing. Maybe I'm more talkative to the person next to me than I used to be. They're helping me get through this flight. But, I have lots of different things. I stop and I walk. I do all kinds of things. And the most important thing that I do is before the trip starts, before the trip used to start, it was, I can't do this. How am I going to do this? And this is days before I'm in a trip. I'm going on a trip. I'm telling my husband, I don't think I can do this. It's too painful. It's going to be terrible. It's awful. And that is what is called pain anticipation. We can hook you guys up to a functional MRI machine, and we can tell you that something is going to hurt. And before the needle even hits the arm, those areas of the brain that process pain are already firing. You're already having pain. So I was already having pain before I even got in the car. And I don't like my husband to remind me of that very often, but he did at that time. I remember him saying, well, is it really good for you to start thinking about pain before we even leave? And so now I have all the tools I need to travel, to do what I need to do, and I know what it is I need to do. Not that I'm not saying that when I get there, sometimes I'm really tired out, but I do have what I need to make it through. So anyway,
Fear of going in a car?
Fear of going in a car? Oh, no. Ask my family. Oh, my mom used to do it terrible, and I swore I would never do that, but I do that now. Yes, it's back there somewhere in my brain. Any time that the driver doesn't have both hands on the wheel and the eyes forward, I'm like, oh. Yes, I do. So anyway, well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate our time together, and I hope this is helpful.
Becky, we love and appreciate you. Thank you for coming over here and sharing with us. And we just wish you God's best as you continue to reach out to others. Would you mind having prayer for us?
Oh, sure. I would love to. Oh, I guess I have this already. Father in heaven, thank you so much for the chance to be here today and to share all the different tools that you have helped me find over the years to do life in a healthy way, even with pain. Lord, I just want to ask your blessing on this group of people. I know that they each have their own kind of pain, and Lord, I ask that you would give them the strength and the courage to seek out and find the different tools that might be helpful for them. Lord, I know that some of them might be in a place of just feeling hopeless, like, well, yeah, it worked for her, but how is that going to work for me? Lord, I ask that you would help each one to have the support they need to really be able to implement some of the things that might be helpful for them. Lord, I just ask that you would take our weaknesses and give us your grace and your strength, and we know that you will make each part of our broken lives broken bread, poured out wine, and that you would put people in our pathway that are in need of your love and your healing. And we just ask that you would do that for each one of us. In Jesus' name, amen.
God bless you. Have a wonderful afternoon.